Hey Luminary, Leslie Tagorda here with a planetary process episode exploring Jupiter. Of course, Jupiter is our process to expand and dream big. And then we will explore the 12-year growth cycle of Jupiter so that you can intentionally work with this growth season in your life and work.
Welcome to Star-Powered Astrology for Changemakers. I'm Leslie Tagorda, your guide, a Hawaii-born Filipino-Jewish astrologer who loves navigating visionaries like you through the spiritual journey of your work so that you can be inspired to lead by your chart and become the luminary leader you were born to be.
Awesome. Hello, luminaries. Welcome. It is Leslie Tagorda here, and I'm super excited to bring this teaching episode of our Jupiter process, our process to go big. I'm inspired to bring you all of these planetary processes in this special series of the Star Powered podcast, and especially inspired to bring Jupiter up to the fore, simply because Jupiter will be moving into Taurus later this month. I'll have an entire episode coming up shortly about Jupiter in Taurus, so stay tuned for that. In this episode, I wanted to share all about Jupiter. As I was delivering celestial cycles in Star Powered Circle, I was teaching about Jupiter and its ability to go big. I look at all of the planets as having a process, a primary role. And Jupiter's primary role is to amplify, to maximize, to expand. And it really goes deeper than that because on the inside, it brings us awareness to accept and believe in ourselves, to poke holes in limiting beliefs, to expand our philosophy, and to really give gratitude to all that is. It informs our moral compass, our golden rule. And in our lives and our work, in our outer expression, in our leadership, Jupiter shows us where we need to go big, what our purpose is, our big why, and allows us to have that hope and optimism. So, in this episode, we're going to be looking at the process of Jupiter and how to work with it in your change making work. And then I'll be sharing with you the transits of Jupiter and how to consciously work with those celestial cycles. Now, remember, what I'm sharing with you here are excerpts of my premium content, Celestial Cycles, in my Star Powered Circle. And Celestial Cycles, when you're taking Celestial Cycles, the course in Star Powered Circle, you're offered extra exercises to apply all of this astrology wisdom into your life and your change making work. And in this episode, I'm still sharing with you so much wisdom of how you can work with Jupiter. So let me know what you think. I absolutely love Jupiter, especially since my sun is conjunct to Jupiter in Jupiter's 9th house. I just absolutely love Jupiter. So I hope you love it as much as I do. Next, we move out to our first outer planet, the social planet Jupiter, whose primary role is to expand. I love Jupiter, the ruler of both Sagittarius and Pisces. Jupiter takes about 12 years to go around the sun and spends about 1 year on average in each of the sign. The deities that are the mythology of Jupiter are Zeus and any god of sky and thunder, where there is so much power. This idea of the primary role to expand can be thought of just like expanding our mind, expanding our philosophy, expanding our purpose and our vision, expanding our belief. And so definitely we all need Jupiter to be able to grow. To bring that inner healing to Jupiter is to understand that expansion to what end? Right? And that all beliefs have a sort of limit. So, are we living under limiting beliefs, or do they need to be even bigger? Where do our beliefs come from? Are they judgments? Are they prejudiced? Are they overreaching? Jupiter is often considered to be equated with religion, meaning man-made spirituality. And of course, at its lowest, religion is based on dogma and control. But at its highest, religion is based on the golden rule. And so often we think about Jupiter and religion and rituals as giving thanks and gratitude to the gods. Of course, Jupiter rules the temples where we offer these thanks. And in ancient times, the temples were where you would go for higher learning, for universities and religious temples were all one. Jupiter now can also cause us to overindulge, overreach, overjudge, all of those things. So there's lots of things to bring inner awakening to Jupiter. In our work and our leadership for our outer expression, we want to bring the highest result and expression of exploring wherever our mind takes us, reaching far off places through philosophy or traveling or learning, understanding our bigger purpose and our big why, really tapping into social justice and morality and the golden rule, bringing a sense of optimism, bringing a sense of ritual, reaching through higher learning, and of course, maximizing and optimizing opportunities in our life and our work. All right. So, do you feel you have a good grasp on Jupiter's process so that you can bring more awareness when Jupiter is overreaching and really work into your bigger why and your purpose in your life and your change making work? So, now I want to share with you how to work with Jupiter transits as it goes through the different phases by house in your natal chart and how it sparks different parts of your life cycle as it, transits maybe natal planets and gives you deeper understanding with philosophy, connecting the dots and your vision. So let me know what you think. So let's dive into the first planetary outer planet transits that we're going to be talking about today, which is Jupiter. You remember that Jupiter's process is to envision, to expand, to believe, to add gratitude, to bring abundance, optimism, exuberance, and growth. And as Jupiter transits your natal chart, it's sharing its spiritual and philosophical growth in those areas that are represented by your houses, as well as the natal planets that it touches. Now, we love Jupiter transits mostly because Jupiter is one of the benefics of the sky. But really, Jupiter, all it does is really expand. And so if you're already not doing your work, if you're already stuck in the muck and just kind of in a slump, Jupiter will simply expand that. Now, if you're doing great and you're feeling wonderful and you're doing things in alignment, Jupiter just adds to that abundance. But also, Jupiter can have a tendency to overdo it. So when you are having a Jupiter transit, it's really mindful to not overdo things because you can feel so comfortable and so supported with Jupiter. Now, we look at Jupiter transits because this shows us where we need to mindfully grow and expand our own spirituality, our own philosophy, our own beliefs. It allows us to connect the dots in certain parts of our life and our work. It allows us to open up our mind. Now, sometimes Jupiter transits can be like super subtle and easy to miss. And while a lot of ancient astrologers talk about Jupiter transits as like bringing like chances of luck and money and all and success and all things like that, more often than not, Jupiter's transits are more internal, more philosophical, more spiritual, more graceful. Now, Jupiter as a planet is always asking you for what are you grateful for? How can you optimize and amplify? How can you hold the highest possibility? How can you see the bigger picture and meaning? And also, how am I judging or creating limiting beliefs? Okay, so always looking at the shadow as well as the light. And as Jupiter transits your natal chart by house and by aspecting different planets, those questions get more specific based on the area of your life and work, as well as the planetary process that it is aspecting. Now, Jupiter, because it has a 12-year cycle, meaning it takes 12 years to go around the zodiac, we get to have a Jupiter return every 12 years. A return is when a planet returns back to its spot in your birth chart at the time it was born. So every year you get a solar return when the sun returns to the same degree in your natal chart as it was your as you were born, indicating your birthday. The moon has a lunar return where every month it returns to the place that it was born. And Jupiter has a Jupiter return every 12 years. So we get these Jupiter returns approximately at age 12, age 24, 36, 48, and so on. Again, approximately. They're not exact just because of the different transits or retrograde motions. So we're always looking at that 12-year mark and then working a little bit before and after. When we have a Jupiter return, Jupiter is returning to its home place where we can experience life at its highest potential, where things feel easeful and expansive. It feels like a lucky time. Unless you're also having some kind of Saturn or Pluto or other kind of transit, just like I had my Jupiter return exactly when I was having my Saturn on my sun. And so basically, what Jupiter did was he softened that Saturnian process. So if you're also having a process by one of the harder hitting planets, when you have a Jupiter return at the same time, Jupiter is just really kind of diluting things and softening things so things feel a little bit more easeful. When we're working with Jupiter, it's really important to always be grateful, to always add that silver lining so that we can expand our sense of self, our understanding, and our beliefs. Jupiter does not like it when you are entitled. Like that is such a shadow of Jupiter to be entitled. Now, Jupiter returns, they happen in a flash. They can happen anywhere from a couple of weeks to a couple of months if Jupiter happens to be on its retrograde cycle on one of your on your natal Jupiter. So it is really fast, and you definitely have to notice it. Generally, we can have about like one exact hit, but if you have a Jupiter return that is right at one of the station directs or the station retrogrades, you could have up to 3 passes. There's not necessarily any unraveling that happens in these passes. A Jupiter pass is going to really feel more like an understanding. So as Jupiter moves or transits through your natal chart, it's going to go around the different houses in your natal chart, and it's going to also aspect your natal planets. But let's talk about the houses first, because Jupiter takes about a year to move through a house in your natal chart. Remember, as the planets are moving, they're moving in through your natal chart in a counterclockwise fashion. Now, Robert Hand wrote a book called Planets in Transit, and it's one of the resources that if this is something that you want to study and that you want to practice and be a practitioner of astrology, this is one book that you definitely need to have in your library. It's called Planets in Transit by Robert Hand. And I shared this quote. Robert says, "The house that the transiting Jupiter is in indicates the area of life in which you are trying to grow and the means by which you're doing this. The process may be necessary growth that makes you a wiser and more successful person in a philosophical sense, or it may be pathological growth. In other words, you are trying to get too much or too far in this area. So remember, resist the urge to overdo in any of these areas in your life and work while Jupiter is transiting a house." And so, in about a year, Jupiter can make pretty great gains. It can travel anywhere from like 1 to 3 houses in a year. Remember that when Jupiter crosses one of your angles, ascendant, midheaven, descendant, or a Imam Coeli, that as Jupiter crosses these support structures of your natal chart, these are significant times in your life. So as Jupiter is transiting the first house, this is the beginning of a cycle of expansion. You are here to expand and believe in yourself, your leadership, your identity, and your initiative. Optimize your experiences in who you are to be and become so that you can attain your highest potentials. It is likely at this time your magnetism and just sense of self is amplified. When Jupiter is transiting the second house in your natal chart, this is a time to expand and believe in your finances, worthiness, and values. Optimize your experiences to elevate your worthiness and values. Your financial gains are possible, but what's more significant is gaining your sense of worthiness and value. It is likely at this time your value, money, worth, attraction is amplified. When Jupiter is transiting the third house, the last house of the quadrant of self, you are here to expand and believe in your mindset, inner dialogue, and voice, as well as your daily neighborhood routines, those things that are closest to you in proximity. Optimize your experiences to your ability to communicate your needs and increase your communications and contacts. It is likely at this time that your voice and message is amplified at this time. Such a great time to like work on your voice, work on your message, work on your, that next big talk that you're about to give. Now, the next thing, Jupiter crosses your Imam Coeli and goes into the fourth house, where this is one of those structural changes at the root of your chart. Where at this time, as Jupiter transits your fourth house, it is now time to expand and believe in your own emotional safety, your innermost private life, and family dynamics. Optimize your experiences for intergenerational and familial advancements and inner peace. It is likely at this time that your emotional security and inner support is growing. As Jupiter goes into the fifth house, it's now time to expand and believe in your ability to seek out your passion, your play, your pleasure, and your creativity. Optimize your experiences to receive joy, creatively express yourself, and attend to your inner child. It is likely at this time that your creativity and passions are amplified. As Jupiter moves into the sixth house, now it is time to expand and believe in your daily practices and routines. It's time to optimize your experiences to be a service without burnout, and to optimize your health and wellness. It is likely at this time that your wellness and dedication to your health is amplified, as well as also doing good work in this world. As Jupiter moves into the seventh house, it crosses the descendant and comes up from the underworld into the upper world. So now Jupiter is above the horizon. Another important time for Jupiter. So note when Jupiter crosses over that descendant into that seventh house, because now this is the time to expand and believe in your relationships and understanding of your dynamic in relationships, partnerships, and collaborations. Optimize your experiences to deepen your prized relationships and collaborations. This is a wonderful time for partnerships and probably a wonderful time for your partners. It is likely at this time that your ability to meet the right partners and people are amplified. And this is also likely a time when your partners are also succeeding. I remember when I had my Jupiter in the seventh house, my husband was just like having all kinds of recognition for success and he got all kinds of raises. I tell you, I was very delighted. When Jupiter transits the eighth house, now it's time to expand and believe in your ability to deeply heal and transform for the highest. Now, oftentimes there can be gains in shared resources and joint money, like windfalls from taxes or inheritances, where you're able to really optimize your debts and your liabilities or get investments from others. Optimize your experience for deep psychological and philosophical transformations and understandings. It is likely at this time that your joint resources will have a gain. Now, Jupiter, as it moves through its home house, the ninth house, Jupiter loves being in the ninth house, and it's time to expand and believe in your beliefs, your purpose, and your vision, even your own morality. Just thinking about like the rules that you live by may likely go through an expansion at this time. Optimize your experiences to what you can truly envision and open your mind to. Maybe you will continue your education, travel to distant lands, or find ways to get your work into a larger global audience. It's likely at this time that your ability to explore your mind and world is amplified at this time, a most beneficial time for Jupiter. Next, Jupiter crosses over the midheaven at the tippy top of your chart, entering the 10th house, another significant transit for Jupiter. Expand and believe in your public and professional life to expand your status, expertise, and authority. Optimize your experiences to how you will leave your mark on this world. It is likely that your status and visibility is amplified at this time. As Jupiter crosses over into the 11th house, things are getting amazing now. I love the 11th house in Jupiter too. This is your time to expand and believe in your hopes for the future, your social impact, and building your soul communities and your friends. Optimize your experiences to how you will contribute to society and achieve your dreams. It is likely that your impact and platforms are amplified at this time. Now, Jupiter in the 12th house. This is the last of the cycle before it returns back to that first house. It's time to expand and believe in your innermost spiritual self and past actions. Optimize your experiences to allow for more ease, flow, and bliss. A most lovely transit of Jupiter to connect the dots within your life and possibly connecting the dots to your past lives. It is likely that your inner understanding, philosophy, and connection to spirit and consciousness is amplified at this time. Jupiter also just loves that kind of 12th house vibe as the ruler of Pisces and the 12th house. All right. So I hope you have a better understanding of how Jupiter unfolds its evolutionary growth cycle over 12 years through the different 12 houses in your natal chart. So let's take a look as Jupiter transits one of your natal planets. And usually this can take up to a month. Again, it can be kind of fast, a couple of weeks to a month, depending on where Jupiter, how fast Jupiter is at that time. Now, Jupiter transiting a natal planet can feel like a glow up, but it is very subtle. So you have to notice and have some gratitude so you can really expand on that glow up. Now, Robert Hand, again in the same book, says planets in your natal chart that are transited by Jupiter represent energies in your personality that are working smoothly and attaining your objectives. Do not overdo. One problem with Jupiter is that you should be careful about what you want because you're likely to get it. I love that. Thank you, Robert Hand. In the worksheet, I have kind of some formulas that I've created, but I also invite you to choose your own keywords and choose your own ideas about what these formulas can be, and start to notice in your natal chart when you've had these different kinds of aspects with Jupiter and your natal planets. Now, note, I did not add an aspect here. The aspect is going to show you the type of energy relationship between those two planets that are going to get to your result. So, for example, I say that a Jupiter transiting your sun, your natal sun, where there is expansion from Jupiter and creativity from your sun. So, expansion and creativity equals, I said, brilliance here. So you're expanding on your brilliance. Now, if this was Jupiter squaring Sun, there would likely be some kind of catalyst, an experience, or a trigger that would allow you to gain that brilliance. That brilliance might not have just like happened or been downloaded. Or if there was an opposition between Jupiter and the sun, that would have been more like you had to choose to expand. Like you had this opportunity, you were undecided whether or not you were going to take this opportunity. You decided to take the opportunity, and that decision, that choice allowed for that creative expansion, which equaled into that which resulted into that brilliance. So I hope that kind of gives you a better understanding that the aspect that Jupiter is having between your natal planet is going to flavor how you get to your result. I have like mathematical formulas going in my head, how I can make this look differently. But for now, we're just using simple multiplication, knowing that sometimes I would say the multiplication could be like a conjunction, a division. It could be something like a square. And what is square? Would it be a choice? No, division, actually a division, you're hearing my thought processes. A division could be an opposition, and a multiplication could maybe be a square. Let me think about that, but you see where I'm going, hopefully. Of course, the Jupiter and Moon, expansion and feelings equals attunement. Jupiter and Mercury, expansion and expression equals convincing. Jupiter and Venus, expansion and attraction equals glamour. Jupiter and Mars, expansion and activation equals achievement. Jupiter and Saturn, expansion and focus equals success. Jupiter and Uranus, expansion and breakthrough equals progress. Jupiter and Neptune, expansion and inspiration equals devotion. Jupiter and Pluto, expansion and transformation equals ideology. All right, wonderful. Thank you so much for listening to this more educational in the series of my planetary processes for these different podcasts. I hope that you learned something new and that you got to get a sample of my teachings in my curriculum. Of course, this is only one part of my curriculum. For those students in my curriculum, of course, they get applied astrology exercises so that they can feel into what this work means for them and then express it in their life and work. It's such powerful work. So I hope you enjoyed this deep dive into Pluto. Let me know what you think. And if you're interested in Star Powered Circle or the upcoming Astro Brown certification, this is your chance. As a human design projector, my energy shines more brightly because of people like you who share my work. If you enjoy this podcast and want to help build a movement of innovative astrology and leadership and spark the intuitive revolution, please rate and review this podcast on Apple Podcasts, or better yet, share this podcast with your change-making besties. We will all shine brighter together as we create the future we want to see.